Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Jacob. Over the last 5 years, I've ran a couple of different businesses. I've worked in high ticket sales. I've worked alongside people such as Jordan Belfort in central London. I've sold millions of pounds worth of property. I've worked as a web designer. I've grown, scaled my own design agency. I've worked with hundreds of other businesses to really establish their brand. I'm creating this video to, first of all, tell a little story about myself, my own two businesses, as well as the other hundreds of businesses I've helped really change their branding up. But it wasn't always this way. I started as a web designer. I would be on Upwork. I'd get customers come through the door. I'd promise to deliver amazing results. And by the end of it, they'd have a pretty website, but they wouldn't know how to actually utilize that and get clients through the door, because that's what businesses really care about at the end of the day. When I really started to understand the pain behind wanting that website, what their lifestyle was looking like, the limitations that were caused because they didn't have that website, they didn't have enough clients coming through the door, that is when I really started to be an expert within my field. We're going to first of all start talking about my own design agency. So I started off, my name was just Jacob Chivers on Upwork. I was at a point in my life, I was also working as a chef at this time. I weren't getting much money at all. I was living above the restaurant on a mattress. We'd constantly run out of electricity. My lifestyle was not great. I wasn't in a good time of my life. I was eating very unhealthy and I was just sat there. I had a few sort of moments in my life where I was like, I can't keep living like this. I want to be living in a nice apartment. Like, I would visualize what I really wanted. And it just got to a point where I really hit breaking point. I had to make a change. I really did start making real changes. I read a book called .com Secrets by Russell Brunson years before this. I just remember it being such an informative book, so I decided to read it again. And the book talks mainly about sales funnels, but it mentioned one thing specifically, and that is the character avatar document, which is exactly what has changed two of my own businesses for me, but also the hundreds of web design clients I also helped get their branding off the ground. What I did with my Upwork profile, I was like, look, this has supported me. I'm getting drips and drabs of work here and there, but I need to treat this like an actual business. What I did is I thought about a couple of clients I really wanted to work with. So there was a skip hire business. Let's call him Mark. Mark was really good. He was willing to pay a high amount. He paid me $750 US dollars to build a website, which, looking back, that wasn't a lot for me. I wouldn't even consider building a website for that now, considering the value, the way I position myself. But he was willing to invest in a website more than most tradespeople are. Mark was great at communicating, all-round great guy, was very friendly. I spent that evening checking Reddit, finding people similar to Mark, finding his desires, what he really wanted. I really tried to understand that, and his sort of fears, the fear that like all these younger tradespeople were going to take over, and like it's going to be very different for your industry, right? And what I did, I ripped that whole document out. I did a lot of research. I actually contacted Mark personally. I got on the phone with him, and I really was at a point where I knew who I wanted to target, who I wanted to work with. So I revolutionized my entire website. I changed up my Instagram, my Facebook. Every part of the business was speaking directly to Mark. Not by name, but that was the type of customer I wanted to work with. So I was speaking to Mark directly. I was using the sales skills that I had developed, these tactics to really, if I was to use a certain color on the website, I'd want that to have certain connotations to Mark in his own brain. I'd want him to feel the urge to take action from certain words that I'd use on the website. So hopefully that makes sense. And when I started doing that, after a couple of months, I was really seeing some progress. I remember it was 2023 that I first had a really good month. In 2 months, quite strangely, it was two businesses within the exact same industry. It was two Australian fleet management firms, and they both paid me upwards of 2,000 US dollars just through the website. Now, this was really strange to me, but I was consistent. I was consistently speaking to my ideal customer. From there, things were compounding. I call it the snowball effect. I was constantly getting new work through the door. It was a great moment. I was in London for the evening. I was watching a show, and I got a really horrible message from the owner of a restaurant. I just ignored the message, and I went to that restaurant the very next day and picked my stuff up, left the key on the side, and that was it. It was a 0-hour contract. I didn't break any agreement or anything, but that was it. I went ahead, went straight to Granada, Spain, and really started changing the way my business worked. I managed to save a lot of capital. Now, this brings me to when I started wanting to really get to real estate investing. So the best way for me to do this was me joining a local real estate agency as a partner, the sales partner in the company. When I joined them, their Instagram wasn't looking great, the website wasn't looking great, and I used these exact tactics. The character avatar document, I really started speaking to the homeowners, what their problems were within the industry. They really didn't trust estate agents. They just saw us as sleazy salesmen that didn't really care. They wouldn't really fight for the right price of their property. I really got an understanding of who we were working with, whether that was homeowners, whether that was people buying properties. I just understood the whole industry, who we were working with. I revolutionized our whole Instagram. We changed the site up. We started running some ads. I was even doing door knocking. I was knocking on the doors of people who'd been on with other agents for months and months on end, not necessarily to say, come ahead, come with us. Like, that would be the intention, of course, but I was there to have conversations with these people and understand their frustrations. And when I started doing that, I could empathize with people on the phone a lot more. I would find my sales skills would be so much better because I just understood who I was talking to, just normal people. And when we were able to do that, we would no longer have to be as needy and picky with who we'd work with. We wouldn't travel 20 miles out of area just to win a listing. A couple of months after me really understanding who we were working with, getting on our socials, really speaking directly to the customer, I was able to really empathize and sell to people a lot easier. People really responded to me a lot better than they would other agencies because I understood who I was speaking to. I have that character avatar document right there. That thing I got from a book years ago, that thing that clearly worked through Chivers Crafted, my design agency, that thing that worked for the last 100 businesses that I've really changed their branding up for, the fleet management businesses, the skip hire businesses, the models, the actors, you name it. I've worked with someone within that industry, and this quite clearly works for every single business. If you are currently struggling to get consistent work through the door, if you're struggling to charge higher prices, it's very likely that you're trying to speak to everyone. And when you try to speak to everyone, ultimately you speak to no one. So if you're in a position right now where you're not where you want to be in your lifestyle and your business, just have a sit back, just have a little think about a time when you've worked with a customer you really got on with, you liked working with them, they were really willing to invest. You're the only person that can know who you want to work with. Money might not be your biggest thing. Communication might be a big thing for you, but just take a moment to write down exactly who you want to work with. And if you're new to the game, this works for you as well. Get out there, get on Reddit, get in the forums where your ideal customer is, understand their problems, their desires, anything you can think of. What they do as soon as they get up. What I'm going to do, I'm going to attach a character avatar document to this video so you can fill it out yourself. And what I want you to do from there is your website, everything you put out on social media, your ads, the way your team picks up the phone, everything. The colors you use in your logo should speak directly to your character avatar. I'm going to go a lot more in depth into this guys in future videos. I'm also in the process of putting a community together. It's going to be completely free. This is stuff I've been doing the last 5 years. Being a web designer is not enough to teach brand psychology. That is where years of research has come in, and working in sales, knowing what sort of colors, what sort of phrases will tick someone off, make them feel a certain way, make them feel obliged to go ahead and click that buy now button. If you're in that position right now, you're not where you want to be, the first thing I want you to do is put that character avatar document together, fill it out, really get a good idea of who you're talking to, and then just start taking action. Bridge that gap for your customer, solve their problems, and I promise you, if you're consistent with this, consistently speak to that ideal customer, you will get where you want to be within your business. Hopefully this helped, guys, and I look forward to seeing how this information helps some of you guys.